Every year we have 7 million babies. And of those 7 million babies, 1 out of 13 will not see their first birthday. And of this total number, that means about 500,000 babies will die before their first birthday. And if you break it down further, that comes down to 1 baby dies every minute in Nigeria. So if this recording lasts for 30 minutes, that means we have lost 30 babies. That's how very serious it is. And it's not just in Nigeria, it's the same story across Africa.
Today Africa Podcast is a podcast series where we interview African entrepreneurs and professionals and share the stories behind their businesses. In each interview, we ask how they got started, how they grew, and how they run their business today. The stories are inspiring and also provide specific advice and insight into starting a business. By sharing these stories, we want to help others get started.
Welcome to another episode of Today Africa podcast where we meet with African entrepreneurs, business leaders, change makers, and professionals who are shaping the future of the continent. And don't forget to like, share, and comment on our content on social media and head over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel at Today Africa Studio. Joining me today is Dr. Gozie Ezeh. He's the founder of SweetMom and Funds for Impact. Dr. Gozie, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Please tell us more about yourself. Who is Dr. Gozie Ezeh?
Dr. Gozie Ezeh, and I'm a medical doctor, actually from Nigeria, and I happen to be the founder of SweetMom and Funds for Impact. So by day, I work as a medical doctor. By night, I work, I wear my other hats and work as a fundraising strategist. So in my capacity as a SweetMom, we are creating a platform for moms across Africa, especially moms with their babies in the first year of life. Then for Funds for Impact, I support non-profits, change makers, people who have impactful organizations and startups to raise the funds they need to execute the impact that they are working on.
Let's track back a bit. Let's go back to the point where it all started. So tell us what inspired you to pursue medicine and what equally led you to specialize on maternal and infant health.
From a very young age, I was actually drawn to medicine. I remember one particular story when I was probably around 7 years old, and we did a play in school, and I was doctor, and that's why I got to know what a pediatrician means. And from then, I said I was going to be a pediatrician. So that's where everything actually started from. Then I got into medical school, and medical school went on. But it was then I realized that the way medicine was being practiced, I did not exactly like maybe fall into the conventional way of practicing medicine. Medicine mostly is like one-to-one. You see patients, you wait in the clinic, and then you see patients. I like that part. I like the interaction, but I started thinking about how do you scale your impact more? How do you reach a lot more people? I prefer one-to-many interactions. So that's why I started thinking about how do I position myself, or how do I build myself up so that I can be that kind of doctor that not only serves one person but can serve at least 1 million people plus. So that's where I started from medical school. And fast forward today, we are trying to do something like that through SweetMom. So this one is basically focused on moms, and if we can support moms across Africa, at least their health is going to be very impactful. So I believe I'll be doing more justice with my skill set as a doctor if I can serve 1 million moms than just with serving one mom at a time.
You are the founder of SweetMom. Was there any personal experience or story that led you to start off this venture called SweetMom?
And it was still back in medical school. When I started thinking about how I'm going to practice medicine in the future, I started looking for problems to solve from medical school. It was then that I was looking at different areas. And one of the areas that really caught my attention was maternal and child health. So I was in my 5th year medical school in a class called obstetrics and gynecology and pediatrics, O&G and pediatrics. So that level dealt with just focused on things related to maternal issues and things related to children. So I joined groups on Facebook. I started interacting to know real world problems, eh, like real problems in the world that I could solve. I went to the hospital, came back one evening, and I was scrolling on Facebook. Then I stumbled on a post by a mom, a young mom. She had a question. She was asking for advice because her baby was having fever and then was convulsing. So she came to seek for advice online. And yeah, people started commenting. And yeah, I was glad. I said at least people are responding. So let me just dig into the comment section to see what people are talking about. But I was horrified because when I started scrolling, I was like, what is going on here? People are just giving advice that is not even remotely close to helpful. Some of them were ridiculous and some were outrightly harmful. Imagine someone saying that take palm oil and put inside your baby's nose, or put your baby near fire, so that the convulsion will stop. So I don't know if they want to burn the convulsion away. So I saw things like that and I was really angry. I was scrolling, I was like, I was disappointed. I was still angry that like moms did not really know. And these are people who have already trained children. They didn't know the basic things on how to care for their babies. And my anger actually paused or halted when I stumbled on a comment, and it was by this mom. She had lost her baby. So that very moment has lived with me since then. That I started thinking, what if this mom had access to the right knowledge, the right community, and the right resources? Maybe she would have saved her child. And that's the same story that echoes throughout Nigeria, even Africa. But let's just zoom in on Nigeria, for instance, now. Every year, we have 7 million babies. And of those 7 million babies, 1 out of 13 will not see their first birthday. And of this total number, that means about 500,000 babies will die before their first birthday. So if this recording lasts for about 30 minutes, that means we have lost 30 babies. That's how very serious it is. And it's not just in Nigeria, it's the same story across Africa. So that's why I don't think just sitting in the clinics and just waiting for moms to come or patients to come is going to be a very sustainable way to solve this problem. There has to be like different ways. And that's why we're really thinking about solving the problem with a different kind of method. So yeah, that's the story and that's how it's going so far.
Tell us more about Sweet Mom. What you people are into, services, and equally the products. If you have products that people are offering.
Freedom is still very, very early stage, I must say. And we started this year, like around March. That's when we started. We got together. I have some co-founders. There are also two doctors I'm working with, and some members of my team. They're also healthcare professionals. Came together and started brainstorming about how we're going to solve this thing sustainably. And we held a pilot phase, like a focus group session. And that focus group session, we are interacting with moms to really know what are their problems and all. So that's when we got to discover that, in fact, it's not just that babies are dying, mothers too are not even thriving because mothers are depressed. They are suffering from maternal depression. And if you check the maternal depression rate in Nigeria, sometimes they say it's between 8% to up to 30 something percent. If we take the average, it'll be around 22%. So so if we look at it very, very critically, 1 in 5 moms are suffering from maternal depression. 1 in 5 moms. And I can't really verify the source of this particular information I want to give now, but I once saw that about of the 7 million babies that are being born, about 50% of them are being given birth to by new moms. So we have a lot of new moms coming on board, and we see that like about 1 in 5 of them are depressed. So it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot of it's a whole lot of problem if you think about it. So moms themselves are not thriving. So we decided that because we were thinking about that, oh, let's solve like infant mortality. But the focus now is shifting towards how can we help moms thrive? Because if we help moms thrive, then we can help their babies thrive because the moms are the ones taking care of their babies. So, and it starts with actually creating a supportive environment for that mom. A lot of moms don't have that supportive environment because of the way society is currently being structured. Like there's increased isolation. People don't have the normal family support structures to, even when they have it sometimes, there are mother-in-laws that are giving you advice that's it's not just very helpful. So because of that now, so we want to create a supportive community for them. So we'll starting with education. We believe that the correct or accurate health information will be a very, very big step forward. Then place them in a community that is supportive with other moms that are going through the journey themselves, and a community that is also doctor led by healthcare professionals that know what they are doing and can give them advice. So it starts with that. Then eventually we can now offer services. So services like if there needs to be a child taken care of, maybe through telehealth and other services. So with time, we keep inventing products and services that meet the needs of these moms. So this is where we are starting. So in health education, community, and then eventually other services that will follow. So that's how we've structured everything so far.
From the story that inspired the creation of Sweet Mom and from your explanation, it means that many struggle in silence. And this is taking me to my next question. So, what are some of the most common challenges I've seen first time that face?
I would say the first one is actually that's feeling lonely. Like you might have heard that quite a number of moms used to feel what is called postpartum blues. That's after you give birth to your child, instead of feeling excited and happy, you just feel some bit of depression. So when it lasts longer and it lasts for a very long period of time, that's when you call it postpartum depression. So that's one of the major challenges. And why it's now even bad is because people around, maybe mother-in-laws and maybe, people around, they judge these moms or they tell them that they're supposed to be strong. So everybody's being stoical about it. They just like muscle it up and then they try not to talk about it. They just suffer through the whole thing. And it's not easy if you don't have people around you who are supportive and who are understanding. It's a real issue. So most people suffer this postpartum depression very silently. So motherhood ends up feeling like a very lonely place instead of it being joyful and all. So that's one of the main challenges. The second challenge will now be information about the correct thing to do for their baby. A mom that is becoming a first time mom does not know a lot of things about taking care of their baby. They might know through maybe proximate contacts, maybe they've helped somebody before. But beyond that, they don't know a lot of things, especially when it comes to healthcare. Think about it. The average person is ignorant about their health. How much more a mom caring for somebody, a child, a baby's health. So there's a lot. And then the current systems that are that are already in place to educate moms, they're not adequate enough. Imagine antenatal classes. Some people don't even go to antenatal classes. Some go like maybe 3, 4 times, and then they all spend like 30 minutes or at least 1 hour, and then they tell them some basic things. But it's not enough to teach them. In fact, after they give birth, we usually give them a 6 week appointment to come back after 6 weeks. What happens between that 6 week period? There's a hiatus. Even beyond 6 weeks, what else? So even the healthcare institution itself does not even really have a, should I say, we don't even have like a system to like teach these women what to do, how to care for their babies, what are the danger signs, what should they do in certain situations. Let me tell you a brief story. There was a mom, a very young mom, I think she was about 19 and she gave out her first child. So I was seeing her in clinic. So she told me that anytime the weather is hot, she gives her baby paracetamol. I was like, what? Like I couldn't understand why, because like it seems like when it comes to health, a lot of people just suspend logical thinking. Like if the weather is hot, would you yourself take paracetamol? No, you would not. So why are you doing it for your baby? So it was just turned out that she was afraid. She didn't know what to do. She didn't want her baby to have fever, all those things like that. So the healthcare gap, healthcare information gap is very, very important. And I can tell you that if we just even address just the healthcare, we make a lot of impact. And if you think about it, in Nigeria, for instance, there are a lot of like speakers that go around and say so many things about healthcare that, of course, is very, very false. And so let me not go into that. But you see that like even the society at large is not even well educated in terms of healthcare. So moms, particularly, if we are going to really solve this problem with infant mortality and improve maternal health, we must take health education very, very seriously. It's a small intervention. It looks very minor, but I think it has a very, very tremendous impact.
While you were speaking, I'm now wondering the role that fathers, new time fathers, should play. Like
So
because because it's not only the mom that has the baby or the child, the fathers are involved.
the father's role should be support. Support. If fathers are not carrying the pregnancy, They are not pushing out the baby. Like culturally, like fathers are not the one that are nursing, they're not breastfeeding, they're not doing anything. So the thing that they can do the most important thing is to support these moms, helping them see that okay, I see you and I support you all the way through. You understand? Because if you create a like a good environment for the mom there in the home, she thrives better. I've seen some moms that have told me that because they had like really supportive husbands, they did not feel the pain of child of motherhood, that early motherhood so much. When they wake up at night, like their husband is there with them, maybe allows them sleep, takes care of the baby, and it's a really good thing if fathers can start playing that kind of role even more in our society. I think it's going to really make a lot of difference. And something that I saw a video recently about, I think Denmark. In Denmark, there's a the fathers after the mom gives birth, the fathers take care of the babies for I think a period of time. So it just allows the mom to just completely like hands off and rest and then recover. And that kind of a thing is very good. So fathers' role should be in terms of support majorly. And then it doesn't hurt to also know basic things about childcare, child health, what to do, what not to do in terms of an emergency, how to maybe proof your house, all those things like that. So yeah, health information and then support. So those are the two major things.
How does Sweet Mom, provide support differently from traditional medical consultations or family advice?
Traditional, should I say, medical support is really centered around the healthcare institutions. The healthcare institutions, the structures around that surround it are not so strong like that. So in terms of like health education, you understand, health education. Yes, there's some people that do it, and there's some bodies that actually take charge of it. But I think a lot can be done more. Like more can be done with health education, and there are creative ways we can use. We can leverage social media. We can leverage different ways of actually bringing this health education to life. So the traditional healthcare institution is usually centered around hospital. Maybe if you are sick, you go to hospital, you get care, you see a doctor. Most times that's when you see a doctor. You don't see a doctor like out except maybe you have access to one privately. That's when you see a doctor. But what we're trying to do is like we're trying to preempt and say, okay, we want to prevent things before they happen. So we're taking a focus more on the preventive approach. We are going to meet people where they are, not waiting for them to come. So we believe that if we can teach moms and support them and help them know, oh, this is what you're supposed to do in these particular situations, when those situations arrive, they will know what to do. If you teach a woman that, oh, the immunization is very important, this is how it's important, they will ensure that they do not miss immunizations. If you teach a mom that, okay, if there happens to be a fever, these are the likely causes, and this is what you should do to prevent convulsion from happening. So different things like that. If you teach her that, okay, this is why you should maintain good hygiene to prevent certain things from happening. So so our focus really is all about like we want to be able to prevent those things that cause death, that cause harm from even happening in the first place. And if we put a lot of emphasis on maybe education, put a lot of emphasis on creating a supportive community, people can try better. Look at the case of postpartum depression. You might not be surprised that like more than just only 40% or even less of people who have actual postpartum depression reports the cases. So a lot of people just suffer in silence. So those that eventually make it to the healthcare facilities are just a small percentage of the population. There are a lot of people that are unreached that don't even get to the healthcare facility for different reasons, for maybe lack of knowledge, for lack of access, or lack of resources. So we want to be able to find means to be able to reach these people. Low cost means of like through media. Now media is very cheap. You can be on TikTok, you can be on social media very easily, and can learn something that can really transform your life. So these are the methods that we're trying to use. And given that in Nigeria our doctor to patient ratio is very very bad. The ideal is 1 to 600. In Nigeria, it said it's 1 to 4, 1 to 4,000 or 5,000. But I've even seen recent quotes by I think NMA. It says 1 to 10,000. So that means doctors are overworked. As I am now, I'm very overworked, but I know that this work is important, so I have to do it.
So, in your experience as a doctor, what misconceptions about pregnancy and infant care do you encounter most often?
Misconceptions. I will say that I'll just call it that. I'll just say that what I've seen the most is that a lot of moms are not actually prepared for motherhood in, like, especially like health wise, caring for their baby's health and all. And they underestimate like the kind of toll it can take on them. Because of that kind of thing, that kind of situation, they end up making a lot of mistakes and they end up feeling burnt out and all those things like that. So I think, but if I'll say there's a misconception, is that they think that motherhood is so simple as a walk in the park. It's not easy, and you won't know until you pass through it. Like recently, I had first time moms that just delivered, and it was serious. It was a serious battle. They never estimated they will go through. One of them had a CS, the other one like had a prolonged labor, and she was like, she's not going to get pregnant again. So yeah, so that not being prepared is I think is a big factor, and then so just being prepared enough is going to at least help you just to adjust your expectations and know what to do.
Right, balance between medical science and cultural belief, maternal care, especially here in Nigeria.
So cultural belief is one of the things that has really governed like a lot of a lot of childcare. Like we have this what is called I'm Igbo, and we have this what is called Omugwo, and other tribes to do it too. Where when a woman gives birth, her mother or mother-in-law comes to take care of her, and then gives her pepper soup, does so many things for her during that period. So and during that period, she teaches her how to care for her baby, including how to bath the baby, what to do, what not to do, different things like that. So yes, it's very helpful. Is the support is there, but sometimes it can cause it can cause problems because these moms have their ideologies about how to care for their babies, how they've learned from their mothers, and this cultural advice is not necessarily might not necessarily be correct. Some of them are quite good, but those are not completely correct. So balance is actually not totally pushing them away because yes, they have their role. That's why all of us are here because there has been somebody who has some knowledge. So it's not completely useless, but it's to be able to what is the right thing according to science or according to health, according to what are the best practices? You understand? What are the recommendations? What's the right thing to do at this point in time? And then using that as like a guide or a blueprint to evaluate whatever information will come. So our focus is these moms. If these moms know the right thing, at least according to science, then whatever advice they're getting from friends, from relatives, from mother-in-laws or their mothers, they'll be able to, regulate them. I once had a story of a mom that reached out to me on Facebook, and then she also had this issue. I think her child was purging or so, and she just had advice from different places about what to give or not to give. And then all those things are not really going to actually worsen the situation. So I just told her that okay, yeah, sometimes the child can have this, and it's not in what you give, it's just about replacing fluid. Things like that happen. And when the woman got reassured that okay, this is the right thing to do, she had more courage to be able to stand and do what is right. But if it were that she didn't have the knowledge, she would succumb to anything that anybody told her.
Let's talk about funds for impact. So tell us more about funds for impact. What is it all about and what you want you to?
I love impact a lot. Like I don't think about doing something without really thinking about the impactful side. Long term, I want to have a lot of impact, and anywhere I just see something that is impactful, I'm like, wow, thumbs up, very good, good. And I'm supporting any way I can. So that impactful side actually like even got more cultivated after school when one of my first jobs was working with an NGO. So this NGO is a humanitarian organization, Kids of Tomorrow Foundation. So they were responsible for supporting what they did was they're supporting displaced children as a result of war or torn communities. They take these children that are orphaned, some of them don't have families again. So they take them in and then they put them through school, give them shelter, nutrition, healthcare. So it's just basically creating a home-like place for them. So I worked with them for quite a while. And during that period, like I literally saw how, just giving somebody another chance at life can like the impact it can have. And I did not even just stop at what impact we were creating in the moment. I thought about the long term impact because those children we leave that place and then become somebody in the future, and then in turn pay it forward to a lot more people. So that's like that's like serious impact we're talking about. Like you can't even think about quantify the amount of impact that can come out from just doing something impactful. So that's where it started from. But it does not challenge. It was like we're resource constrained. If you want to do something, start thinking about, oh, how do you manage this one? Tend to underpay people and all. So that's where it really started from. And we started thinking about grants. So I learned about writing grants and all. And then eventually we started getting some things. And then when I started talking about it, some of my friends have started their own startups. We're like, hey, how far? How can you help us with this? And I was like, oh, okay, there's a problem. Then I really started thinking about how do we solve this thing sustainably. I thought about Africa. Africa has like is a continent that is blessed with very brilliant minds. Every day I speak with like innovative people across Africa that are working on very wonderful like ideas. And the challenge is how do you even get money to even get this thing off the ground? But like it is not the case maybe in the US or something. I was speaking with with a potential partner from Portugal yesterday, and then he was talking about how in Silicon Valley it's so easy to get access to capital, even for ideas that are not even really very strong. But here you see people that are solving real issues, not having access to that capital. So I started thinking about, okay, how do we solve this capital problem? How do we create an ecosystem where there's more access to funding, especially for people who need it the most? And that's where Fort Impact started from. So currently we're trying to bridge that gap to be able to solve to be able to connect those who are solving real problems with the money or the fund that they can use to solve those problems.
Fund for Impact is targeted for non-profit and social enterprise. So, what gap did you see that led your employer you to start?
Let me just rephrase. It's not just only non-profit and social impact organizations. We also help startups. In fact, a lot of my people, the people I work with, are actually startups. So yeah, because startups solve problems, but they want to also like make it more sustainable by making money out of it. So anybody that is solving a real problem, I want to support them. So the challenge I've seen is that is either that the idea or the startup is actually not fundable or investable. What I mean is that some people have ideas, but they've not like, structured this in such a way that somebody coming or seeing them will have that confidence to invest in whatever they are doing. You understand? Take for instance, a somebody that wants to do non-profit, right? They are not registered, or the way they have designed their programs is not going to be sustainable. They'll just get grant once and then that's it. Or yeah, so on them for startups themselves, they've not really found a way to test their idea because anybody that is going to be investing in whatever you are doing wants to see that you are going to make real progress, and that progress is going to have social impact, and then you can measure the impact somehow, and there's going to be like a gain at the end. For the non-profit sector, they are more looking at the impact. So you must design your programs or projects to have real impact, measurable impact. If you cannot do this, if you cannot position in such a way that you are solving a real problem, as in so you will not get funded. So that's one of the main things. Then secondly is that if it comes to getting funded by maybe through grants and all, you need to understand the priorities of the funder because funders have priorities. Even for investments too, investors have their priorities, they have their focus area. So you must understand this person giving you this money, what do they want? What are their expectations? And you should tailor whatever you're doing to align. Because you mustn't change. I'm not saying you should tailor or change to totally erode what you're doing, but find alignment. If you find okay, this funder is funding this particular area, and then you understand there's alignment. Yes, you can align with them. Yes. So, for instance, now there was a fund that was just recently started. I think it's a $500 million fund that is just geared towards maternal and child health programs in Africa. It's going to run for a couple of years. So that kind of fund now, an organization like mine is well aligned with them. So we just have to find ways to work together. So it's just something like that. So you find funders that you're well aligned with, ensure that you are fundable, and then yes, increases your chances of getting funded. Then the third one I would say is accountability. There's this thing about Africa too, that can we truly trust them? It looks like it's a very far place, and most of the money is coming from outside actually. So they want to know that okay, you can trust this person, that this person will deliver. So because some people get this money and then they don't do anything with it, or they just squander it, or use it to buy cars or buy houses or something like that. But they want to know that okay, if this money is being given to you, you would have good financial management to be able to use the resources well to actually do what you said you will do. So those are the main challenges I know that organizations face.
Do you think African non-profits are adequately positioned to attract global funding?
I would say yes and no. Yes, in terms of like we have good ideas. We have things that if they are well executed, they will make a lot of impact. A lot of them actually. But the gap now, the no is that of course they're not very fundable yet, or they've not positioned themselves, or they've not restructured in such a way that someone can trust what they're trying to do. You understand? So some of them don't have governance, no board of directors, no advisors. So how do you trust somebody with like some amount of money if you're not really seeing anything? So there are certain things that make an organization fundable to show, okay, yes, I'm trustworthy. And if you give me this, I will return.
What is then the biggest mistake that these profits are making, and how do you come in to help them avoid all these mistakes?
Most people that approach me are already probably running their organization for maybe a number of years or have just started. So for some, depending on their stage, if I see the gap is they have to restructure their organization in such a way that makes it more fundable, I'll give them that advice and suggest what they can do about it. If it's that they don't have traction yet, I would advise them to okay, see how you can just even if you can do a pilot phase, just small test to show that okay, this your idea or this program or this project can have some certain amount of success. So if they do that, yes, they can get successful funding. And then sometimes too, they have all this in place. They have good governance, they have good projects, they have good ideas and all. But maybe the way in which they are presenting themselves, they don't have the skill set to be able to write because there's a skill set with which you used to write your applications. You have to show that the problem you're solving is very urgent and you need to solve it now. It's not going to wait for later. That the consequences, if it's not solved now, like the one I gave you now, we have spent about 30 minutes, 38 minutes now, 38 minutes, 38 babies have died. So when you hear something like that, you're like, okay, yes, we need to find a way to stop this thing. So their problem must be very poignant, must be very, very painful, and must be urgent. So there are ways you phrase things like that. And of course, there are other parts of writing a proposal that I might not get into the technical details here. But all those things, to the budgeting has to be on point. Your theory of change, how exactly are you going to show impact? So all those things have to be there. If it's not well captured, you might not get funded.
What are the trends shaping your industries in Africa?
I would say if it's healthcare, let's look at telehealth, telemedicine, of course, it's like really taking place. There's a way that there are some telehealth companies that are doing great in Nigeria and Africa generally, because we need to be able to leverage technology to be able to deliver healthcare. The current traditional means is not very sustainable. So telemedicine, and we are going to be incorporating telemedicine in what we are doing. Another one again is AI health. So AI is very big now, and there are innovations around that. But yes, we're also thinking about moving that. So that's one very big thing that if we can leverage it and use it properly, we'll be able to make a lot of like impact. We'll make a lot of impact. Then for the non-profits, well, I would say that because funds have dried up from different sources, it doesn't come so well. So non-profits should be thinking about ways to create sustainability even within themselves. So there's a non-profit that I am working with currently. They are currently going into agriculture so that the agriculture can fund whatever they are doing so that they can create more impact and just makes it more sustainable. So looking for means of creating things that can help them get more sustainable with time. So that's for that. Then for I say for startups, it's really all about getting some form of blended finance early on. Early on, investors are not really so interested because you don't have traction. So at that point, at that stage is it makes more sense to go after non-dilutive source of funding. And when I mean non-dilutive, things like grants. So there are a lot of grants for African startups across different sectors. So these are things that they can focus on. Then when they get to that point where they have traction, then investors are ready. And even at a higher level, there's private equity too. Like I was on a call yesterday with, let's say, not it's a family office, but private money. They are into acquiring more mature organizations in Africa. So even not just Africa, everywhere. So if you have a more mature organization, you want to exit, they can acquire or join, do an M&A.
What lessons from practicing mentorship have influenced your leadership style as a founder?
Number one, being calm, like in the chaos, even if all hell is breaking loose, you still maintain your calm and that there's a way out. And then you think in terms of first principles, go to the basics. Like if a patient comes, no matter what's happening, you start with the vital signs. What are the vital signs? So that will tell you the basic state of the person's body. So that's basic diagnosis. And from there, you now work your way upwards. And then as much as possible, simplify things because simple things are like sometimes the best answers to things. So you not think about complex situations, or complex answers. Sometimes if you are looking for a diagnosis, the most simple diagnosis or the most common diagnosis is actually the best diagnosis, not some complex or complicated highfalutin diagnosis. So this has governed how I really approach things. I try to break them down, simplify them, and take tiny baby steps. So where we are today is not where I started from. Like even before I started, there was a lot of how do I do this, how do I do that. I have a tendency to think far out into the future, but thinking far out into the future will not do anything. So in the present, there's something I can do in this very moment, and I should just to take that one and then flee to the next one.
If you could design Nigerian maternal healthcare system with a lot of money, what would it look like?
I like this question because I've thought about this question for a long time, even while I was in medical school. And I was just thinking widely actually. I was like, what if the healthcare system is not built around, the primary healthcare, secondary and tertiary? What if it's not built around, what is built around somebody? What if built around like a person and this person being the mother? What if it's the mother that is the center of the healthcare? Because if you think about it, in most homes, it is the mother that holds the home together somehow. The food, everything. If anybody that is sick, is the mother that will take care of them first. That's how it is. So moms are like the first doctors in the house. Mm? Then
Yeah.
beyond that home, think about the society at large. What makes up the society? Family units. So families are the fabric of society, I would say. So if you can take care of the family, you can take care of society. And the family, if you can take care of the mother, you can take care of the family and then take care of society. So just focusing on mothers alone and helping them to be able to, be efficient in family healthcare, you will inadvertently do a lot of good for society's health because the moms will take care of their health, they take care of their children's health, they take care of their husband's health. Do you understand? So yeah, so if I'll design, I think I'll focus on how do I help moms to be that agent of healthcare change.
Doctors, nurses, and people in the medical field are leaving Nigeria. So what do you have to do? Because the thing is affecting our healthcare. How do we remedy the situation?
Okay, I would say that everybody's looking for a greener pasture. Everybody's looking for something that benefits them more. And for doctors, sadly, like we are overworked seriously. Like you see doctors taking calls for days, not just maybe hours. So if you're days, I'm talking about like morning to night, morning to night, morning to night. And it's just maybe because of like we've practiced a lot of times, so it might come very easily. But having to know that like brain work is even more like tasking than just handwork. because every single point in time you have to be sharp mentally. You have to be present. You cannot just do it anyhow. You have to be present. You have to be thinking. As the patient is coming, you are seeing that patient. You are thinking through whatever the patient is telling you. You are writing it down. You are developing a plan. And there are times when you might see 30, 50 patients every single day, and you will not rest. You still do night call again. You will not sleep well. You come back the next morning again, and no. So that kind of cycle eventually gets to somebody, and then it wears you out. I can tell you that when I was in my house job, throughout that period, I did not have any creative thoughts. I did not. I could not think creatively. I was just in the zone of working, 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 working. So, and that's not very healthy. So, if it's unfortunate because we are actually few, and there's a lot of population. There's population explosion, and yeah, so the amount of doctors are not even adequate enough to meet the healthcare needs. So the ones that are present are suffering. And if someone sees that, if someone is in that situation and you have an option to escape it, what are you going to do? You escape. So it's not easy. And the way forward, a lot of people have theorized, is it improving the salaries? I don't know if that would do the work. I don't know if that would help make people stay. So there's just a lot of things, systemic issues. I don't think I can. I've really thought about how to solve that problem yet. But from my own end, what I think we should be thinking about is thinking about how can we leverage the current technologies, current things that we have access to be able to redesign a healthcare system that is more beneficial or can have more impact, at least reduce the healthcare burden. People like to say that maybe Nigerians have poor health seeking behavior, but I don't necessarily agree with that. The average Nigerian is somehow interested in healthcare because any small thing, they have gone to the pharmacy or they've gone to chemist or they're asking questions about this and they're taking all sorts of things. But the access to healthcare can be difficult sometimes, maybe because of money. People are afraid of coming to hospital because they charge them a lot of money. So if there are more cost-effective ways like preventive healthcare, if an emphasis can be made on it, it's going to really go a long way. One thing that usually annoys me, let me just say it here now, is when you go to the market squares and you see all those speakers they used to put on cars that used to talk about one medicine that will cure everything, called cure diabetes, cure hypertension, cure everything. Used to make me annoyed. I'm like, okay, there are people who are doctors, people who are educated, people who are maybe in healthcare, parastatal, that hear all these things and they're not doing anything about it. Because this is misinformation. They are misleading people. There are people that have had kidney issues because of just swallowing herbs. You understand? Herbs are good,
Yeah.
they have their place, but at least those things should be regulated. Instead of those speakers going around spewing all those kind of things, instead we should spew carefully curated healthcare information that will help people. That will be more beneficial. And it doesn't take much. Just record it, put it on the speaker, and then let it just be going around town. People will hear, oh, diabetes is this, or hypertension is not curable. You have to take your medications, or this. So things like that. It might surprise you that a lot of people don't even know, like, that hypertension is this is what's supposed to be, and all. And people have challenges every day.
Where do you see Street Mom and Fund for Impact in the next 5 years?
Next 5 years, for Sweet Mom, next 5 years, we want to be across Africa. We want to be able to support at least 1 million women, 1 million moms across Africa. Because currently, um, let's say I can't get it. We are above 1 billion in Africa, 1 billion in terms of population, and we have the youngest population in the world. Around, I think, averagely, I think 18 or 19. I can't remember the exact figure. That means in the next couple of years, we'll have more than half of our population becoming moms. So we cannot afford to just like take the lives of the next generation, just take it casually. We should preempt and take care of them. So we want to be able to be at the forefront of caring for the next generation of African babies. So that's really what we are looking at. So the next 20 years, we can look back and say, oh yes, we have a healthy African population, and yeah, it might spread beyond just Africa to to other parts of the world that need this kind of thing. Then for funds for impact, I the truth is I cannot even tell you exactly like the impact because I cannot guess what is going to be. But what I'll say is that it's going to be a lot because like I'm currently connected to a lot of like startups, people who are building business across Africa, and a lot is just brewing. You know, when a pot of stew is just cooking and then it's just beginning to bubble under, you might not see it on the surface. So you cannot even tell how it's going to bubble when it comes out. So that's what is currently happening. And we want to be the catalyst. We want to be the catalyst to be able to help these these businesses, these startups, these non-profits, these impactful organizations. I want to help them see the light of day, and I cannot quantify. I just leave it out there. Whatever impact we can make, I'm glad I will be able to make it.
What advice would you give to others who wants to start their own non-profit, their own startup, or who wants to be a medical doctor like yourself?
Whatever it is, just start. Actually, just start. It might look like a very simple advice. It might look like the advice does not make sense, but that's it. Everything that is great today started somewhere, and just with just a simple step, you will not know all the steps on the first day, but on the first day, you know the step you're supposed to take. Yeah, you should just have courage because sometimes it just takes courage to be able to do something good like that. And there's also one thing that I used to think about. I don't want to be 60 years old or 80 years old and look back and say, I wish I did what I could have done. I don't want to have that kind of regrets. I want to be able to look back and say, I have no regrets. I did all I could do with all I had. And yeah, this is the result. So there's no excuse for not trying. So just try. And the thing is that whatever you're thinking about, another person is probably thinking about it. And if you don't do it, one day you see them doing that, say, oh, I had that idea. Oh, and then yeah, could have been you. And with time you just figure everything out. Take the first bold step and everything will be fine.
Today Africa Podcast is a podcast series where we interview African entrepreneurs and professionals and share the stories behind their businesses. In each interview, we asked how they got started, how they grew, and how they run their business today. The stories are inspiring and also provide specific advice and insight into starting a business. By sharing these stories, we want to help others get started.